Why Science Matters, a Scientist's Apology by Marcelo Glacier. Now, when I say a scientist's apology, you would think of somebody who's apologizing for doing something wrong. That is not the case. This text is written by Marcelo Glacier. He's a Brazilian physicist and an astronomer. He's currently a professor of physics and astronomy at Dartmouth College and a winner of Templeton Prize. In this text, he speaks to the people, everybody, but he addresses a specific community of people. He starts with speaking about how science disappointed these people. First, they were like in the beginning of the new millennium. There were theories about the end of the world. Some people thought that there will be a bug called the Y2K bug, where the digital calendars will not be able to turn to the new millennium, or the old prophecy where the Mayans said that the world would end in 2012. People traced such things back to science because they thought that science would be able to protect them from nature. And since every time a cure for a disease was invented, a new disease that had no cure appeared. Also, technology advanced so fast that the older generations don't understand the new ways of communications of the younger generations. They say that since we can send a man to the moon, we should be able to feed the whole world and not let our natural resources run out. Some people say that these problems are actually because of science. That's how he started his article addressing these people's interests, these people who think that science is actually faulty or shortcoming. They think that science is not the best thing they have or is not really as good as scientists say. At that point, the author says that he must wear the robes of the scientist apologist. And the word apologist here means defender. If I were to defend somebody, I would say that I am their apologist and I will protect them from all harm. Moving on, he starts speaking about that if it wasn't for science, none of us would understand how the world works. None of us would understand how nature works or how the human body works. Nobody would understand that the science is just the essence of nature, is very born from nature. It's how we knew how our sun was formed and where do we stand in the universe and our the planets and the sun and the moon and their origins. We wouldn't have understood any of that. We wouldn't have understood our place in the world if it wasn't for science. He speaks about a dance of creation and destruction, which is a beautiful metaphor, if you ask me. This dance of creation and destruction is constantly happening throughout the universe, linking our histories and our lives and deaths to a larger cosmic chain of transformation. His words are very strong, and he is right. If it wasn't for science, we wouldn't have understood any of that. See, he mentions that there is a lot of hypocrisy in science, in the criticism of science. I mean, how can you live without science? You who criticize science, yes, that person, how can you live without science? How can you live without electricity? How can you live without a place to live that is that has warmth, that has gas, that has facilities, that has water coming to the place, all because of science? Would you be able to live in a cabin in the woods like the old people did without science and get your own water and warm yourself and provide yourself with light and heat and whatever it is that you need to live and live a normal life in the woods? Can you do that? You probably can't, because science has provided a certain level of comfort that had become necessary for us to be able to conduct our daily duties. Without that level of comfort, we wouldn't be able to be at least productive and of use to the society and the community. Yes, I do agree there is a lot of hypocrisy in the criticism of science. Just because that there's a disease that we can cure doesn't mean that science is faulty. As we did mention before, that science is derived of nature. So if there is something that nature produced, it's also normal that the science is, as it's born of nature, will be able to catch up to that disease later. There is no fault with science. There is nothing wrong with it, and it's not to be criticized. As a matter of fact, if anything, it needs to be applauded and celebrated. That's it for this text.